bigger.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna spend that money,
Glossing into something.
I would hope so. Turn it on then. On, you can turn it on.
But I mean, we're recording. So that's, I always like to let everyone know when we are recording. That could be caught on a hotline,
No, we've been there a couple times.
even if it's very. So are we ready to go? Okay, perfect. Amy, you're good? That farther away.
Amy, you're good? We're ready.
It looks very lonely in here tonight.
Quiet tonight. Yeah.
Okay, so I find it is now 6:16 on Wednesday, January 5th, 2022. I'd like to call the Finance and Personnel Committee meeting to order. Roll call. So Diane Wolf is present, Tom Smith,
I'm here.
and Alder Jim Olson.
Here.
Please note also in attendance is Sabrina and Amy and Mayor Kim doing the wave, and our fire chief, Troy Goody. Also online is Eric Rindfleisch, Amanda Jackson, and our assistant police chief, Troy Miller. I think that's everyone. If I missed anyone, if anyone comes on, I will note that. Number 2, consideration and action on minutes from the previous meeting.
I'll make a motion. We approve the previous meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion by Alder Smith, seconded by Alder Olson to approve the previous meeting minutes. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor of said motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item 3, public input limited to 3 minutes per individual. If there is anyone who would like to give input at this time, they may do so. Please state your first and last name and your home address, and you have 3 minutes. Would anyone like to give input? First call? Second call? And is it Sabrina or Amy who is kind of running as far as the
Zoom.
the
Amy's running the Zoom.
Amy is. So you don't see anyone else asking for, okay, just want to double check. So third and final call, I will close public input, move out with printed agenda, consideration and possible action on the following items under finance. Number 4, November 2021 Omni Center financials. Sabrina.
Right, so in your packets tonight, on page 4, you'll see the budget report for the Omni Center. As of November 30th of 2021, we have 27% remaining of what we budgeted for revenues. And then as for expenses on page 6, you'll see that we have 23.34% remaining for expenses. One thing that I will note, we will have some room tax revenue that will help with the revenue for the Omni, as well as at the end of the year, we always do a journal entry to adjust their liquor sales as well. So there'll be a journal entry coming for that, as well as the fourth quarter room tax for revenues. And expenses, again, still sitting with 23% remaining.
Great, thank you. Any questions of Sabrina at this time? I will entertain a motion to place on file, to accept and place on file.
I'll make a motion that we accept the November 2021 Omni Center financials and place on file.
Second.
Motion by Alder Smith, second by Alder Olson, to accept and place on file the November 2021 Omni Center financials. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor of said motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item 5, November 2021 General Fund financials. Sabrina.
Also in your packet on page 14, will give us our totals for revenues for the general fund. We do have 4% remaining going into the last month of the year. And as for expenses, if we look at page, you look at page 26 of your packet, that will give you our total expenses year to date and what is remaining. We have 19.7, excuse me, 19.72% remaining for expenditures going into the last month of the year. So sitting very well, both for revenues and expenses. We'll have a couple receivables that will be outstanding at year end, but overall looking very well.
Great, thank you. Any questions of Sabrina? Hearing none, I will again accept a motion to accept and place on file.
Motion to place on file the figures for the general City of Onalaska balance sheet, please. General fund.
Second.
Motion by Jim Olson, second by Alder Tom Smith to accept and place on file the November 2021 General Fund financials. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of said motion say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Item 6 under finance, authorization to proceed with spending for the American Recovery Act funds, ARPA, on the 2022 capital projects that are not eligible for general obligation bonds in the amount of $711,319. Sabrina.
All right, so next in your packet on pages 28 and 29 is the listing of our capital improvement projects, just the ones that qualified, that we approved at Board of Public Works and at Council for the ARPA funding. Just wanted to give a listing of that. In the past, we've done that with the state trust fund loans of what we were going to borrow for state trust fund. So that's just a listing to have on file.
Thank you for providing this. This is great.
Motion.
Yes.
All right, I'll make a motion that we approve the authorization to proceed with spending for the American Recovery Act's ARPA on the 2022 capital projects that are not eligible for general obligation bonds in the amount of $711,318.
Second.
Motion by Alder Smith, second by Alder Olson to approve aforementioned, to approve item 6 in the amount of $711,319. Under discussion, I watched Board of Public Works last night. Is it at council that we're going to be talking about the $190,000?
Yep, so I was going to mention that in item 7, the authorization of the financing timetable. We did receive notice of our preliminary numbers for borrowing, and that will be presented next week at council.
Next
There
week,
will be
thank
a
you.
discussion.
Great, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of said motion say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. And item 7 under finance, authorization to proceed with the financing timetable. Sabrina.
So on page 30 of your packet is the financing timetable that came from Bayard. I can say we did receive the disclosure questionnaire letter today. We also did receive some preliminary financing information yesterday. That information will be at council next week for discussion. I did mention at Board of Public Works last night that there is $190,000 that we were going to bond for the AC condensing unit. Brad at Bayard did get back to me today, and we will have more discussions next week. But that is not going to be able to be bonded for. So there will have to be a decision made next week on whether we want to forego that project, whether we want to use other funding. So there will be a discussion next week.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So you do need authorization to proceed with this financing timetable?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a motion. We proceed with the financing plan on page F7 of the financing timetable, please.
I'll second.
So motion by Alder Olson, seconded by Alder Smith to approve, to proceed with the financing timetable as presented in our packet this evening. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor of said motion say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Thank you for everything, Sabrina. And let's move on to personnel. Amy, number 1, recruitment update from Human Resource Manager, Amy Franson.
There were no regular positions filled in the month of December, and on your memo, there's also just a listing of some of our additional hiring updates. Oh, sorry about that.
Thank you. It's very hard to understand.
We do have a paralegal starting next week. Our police officer, we've got a contingent offer extended. We just closed the application period for our assistant police chief, anticipated vacancy, and then we are also accepting applications for a maintenance worker in which we just received, just had a recent vacancy.
Okay, good. Any questions of Amy? Okay, thank you. And proceeding on with number 2, Human Resources Annual Report. And I just wanted to add, Amy had contacted me. We talked a little bit about what was kind of the expectation. Typically, HR has always given a financial report, like a year-to-date thing. My position was that there's a lot that went on this past year, and with HR leaving, and then we had a contracted person for some months, and then Amy came in towards the last part of the year. I directed her to talk with Eric and to kind of figure out what would be a happy medium to present, because I think it would have been very difficult to put together and put forth a report that we've had in past years, because she has not been here for a whole year. So I'm very pleased to get what we got, because I think it contains a lot of good information. So I'll let you present, but that's kind of the reason why we're here tonight. So
Thank you for that introduction. I was going to ask for some forgiveness in advance for not having a full year. And what you have before you is just an abbreviated version of human resources. And again, the overview of our department. Obviously, we are here to support employees in whatever way we can. And our major functions involve a number of areas: recruiting, compensation, benefits, safety, training, leave administration, performance management, policy and procedures, work comp, employee and labor relations. So what I have in front of you are just highlights on just a couple of those areas. This is not meant to be all encompassing. So certainly if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to contact me. Starting out with our current staffing levels, we are currently at 345 total employees for the city. That includes our seasonal employees as well. I thought it was important to note going forward in 2022 that 28% of our regular workforce is eligible to retire. So just something kind of food for thought going forward. In terms of recruitment, human resources assists in just about all facets of that of recruitment. In 2021, we filled 30 regular positions, and overall, we had nearly 1,400 city employment applications that were received through our online NeoGov system. In terms of compensation, Human Resources did assist in the reorganization of 3 departments in 2021. In addition, Human Resources also does some inputting into our payroll system, such as cost of living adjustments, longevity pay, and annual wage increases to assist in that area as well. In terms of benefit administration, there was a huge change in health insurance and flex spending carriers for 2022. And so during our open enrollment period in the fall of 2021, we took an opportunity to reacquaint employees with the benefits that are available to them, which are listed there before you, and conducted various group and individual benefit sessions to assist employees through those changes, and then also reacquaint them with the benefits that are available to them. In 2021, we also initiated an employee engagement team. We currently have 9 members to that team who typically meet monthly or as needed. And I know they have assisted in putting together the holiday party and some various events and things that they're working on and reviewing in that aspect. So we look very, very much forward to having their input in various things as we move forward. And then lastly, there's just a list of some of our reporting requirements that we in Human Resources do on a regular basis. Any questions? I'm happy to answer.
Thank you.
Amy, do we know, what was our turnover rate for 2021? Do we know what the average turnover rate for the staff was?
You know, I don't have that number before me right here today.
Okay.
If you're looking purely at our regular staff, that's something that I can get to you.
Yeah, regular staff, I'm curious, yeah. Thank you.
I think 2 things that stand out to me, and thank you for this. I think 2 things that stand out to me is the going forward in 2022, 28% of our regular full-time, part-time, including union, are eligible to retire. I think that's probably the most important thing, at least for me, that I'm looking at, that we need to be aware of. So we can't say later, oh, we were surprised. It's like, no, we weren't, we were told. So we are aware of that. And I've talked briefly in the past with Amy privately about this. I, for one, am very appreciative of the idea and pulling together of the employee engagement team. I think it's a buy-in to a number of employees that choose to participate. And I think that's really great for morale. And I thank you again for, heading that up. And I think that's a really great idea. So thank you. So thank you again.
Yeah, very nice report. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
See, and did not need to ask for forgiveness. I told you. No way. And item 3 under personnel process of city administrator review. I had asked that this be put on the agenda as I think it would be a good idea to shore up the process of the annual review of the city administrator. When the ordinance process was reviewed the last couple of years, or the last couple of times it came before council to adjust the ordinance itself, I was involved with the discussions, as were a number of us here, and it was my understanding was it was the intention for it to be a collaborative process between the council president and F&P chair. And I don't feel that that is what occurred this year. I think it is imperative that there is a defined, consistent process that's followed from year to year, as the 2 individuals named in the review process can change from year to year. So After speaking with legal, I would like to recommend this evening that this item be referred back to staff for a procedure to be developed for the city administrator review and be brought back to F&P next month for discussion and eventually voted upon by council. And I'm just looking for, like I said, more of a consistent review process. So there is not any misinterpretation of the review process. So, thoughts?
Who are we referring this to?
Referring it back to staff, and I would think that it would go back to Amanda and HR to more fine tune an actual process. We have the ordinance, but it seems to change from year to year. There's not a real consistent process of how the city administrator review is performed. And I think out of fairness for the position, that it should be a consistent process going, so everyone knows what the process is, because it seems to keep changing.
Why is that? Do you know?
Because different people are F&P chair and council president. At least that's my interpretation.
Well, the year before, we had a joint, the chair of the finance committee and the council president
Yep.
did it together.
Right.
This year, we changed with the ordinance and made it that everybody provided input to the council president, summarized it with the chair of, I assume you were part of that discussion, and then she presented it. So that's the difference, right? Where you wanted it to be a code.
No.
I don't get why would we want to change it if it's still being done right?
To me, it's a matter of the interpretation. We were all given Amy, were we all given a hard, I know you sent an email and we were all given a hard copy in our mailboxes. And so it says that the review shall be conducted by the Common Council President and Finance and Personnel Chair.
And that happened, right?
It was not in my opinion, it was not a collaborative process between the two of us this year. And in fairness to the position, I think that it would benefit City Hall that it is a consistent process instead of, because council president and F&P chair can invariably change every year. It's kind of like you come.
So you just want to clearly define
Clearly
each
define
of
the
the process and who
Yes.
does what.
Yes.
So
I'm okay with that.
so the input on this situation would be between you and Common Council President?
Say that again.
So that any suggestions of fine tuning that procedure would be between you and the Common Council President? Since you delivered that to the city administrator, or what am I missing here?
I'm asking that this,
Can I interject?
please, Amanda.
But I think what we're looking at is we have better defined a lot of processes recently, including, how we appoint council members, how we elect the council president. And I think this is along the same lines is, there's a lot of room for interpretation. For instance, some years staff is asked to weigh in on the administrator's review. This recent year, they weren't, which is all okay. But there's not a lot of consistency year to year as to how the review is conducted. And I do think Diane's right that we can have different people leading the review every year, which leads to certain interpretations and certain deviations depending on how those individuals interpret the ordinance. And so I think in fairness to the position, it would be nice to have kind of just a clear process. Here's when the timeline begins for the review. Here's the expectation of council members. Here's the expectation of the people putting the interview together. Do you want staff to weigh in? Do you not want staff to weigh in? Having that clearly defined, having how, the goals will be set, defined. And I think just making it really easy so that whoever ends up being council president and F&P chair in any year can pick up this procedure and just run with it.
Exactly.
Would you then, Amanda, write those things down and what is different about what was done and what you think would be better for us to agree with you on? Please.
Yeah, so I think we would just, get your feedback as F and P as to, certain aspects of that. Do you want staff to weigh in? Do you not want staff to weigh in? Did you like each of you conducting an individual review? Did that work well for you? And we would just summarize that in a procedure that you guys could vote on. And we'd probably do this at the next meeting.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think that's fine. Any more we can clarify it,
Right,
it'd be good
right.
for the future. And eventually the common council has to approve it anyhow, right?
Absolutely.
So it
Oh,
still goes through
absolutely.
council.
Sure.
No matter what, we,
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's your process. We're just trying to put it in clearer terms.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, that's my whole point. Yeah.
sure. Thank you.
Okay, so I was just looking for more of a agreement. I think we are all three in
Need a
agreement.
motion on that, or do you think? we should-
No, I think,
Okay.
no.
We're into the proceed. Okay,
And then it'll just come back to F and P next month.
got it.
Perfect.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we are ready for adjournment this evening.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Alder Smith, second by Alder Olson to adjourn at 6:39 PM. And no discussion. So all in favor of said motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, we are unanimously adjourned at 6:39.